If you went back in time just a handful of years, it would be really, really difficult to predict that in just a few short years, the topic of selfie cameras would become relatively interesting, if not borderline controversial at times. We switched to hole punch selfie cameras where the camera moved from the bezel into the display itself, literally cutting a hole through that display in order to have a smaller bezel, but sacrificing an uninterrupted display to attain that. A sacrifice that some people very vehemently are against. We have also, even later than that, put the selfie camera directly under the display and having it try and peek through the individual pixels to take a photo. And some people would also, I'm one of these people, would vehemently disagree with that approach as well. It appears as though the selfie camera discussion is going to further heat up, this time under the Pixel brand, because we have this news article on Android headlines. Google plans to use under-display cameras in Pixel phones, and they have a patent that they are referencing. This is pulled from the European Patent Offices, and of course this is just a patent, so this is not something you can look at and say, here is the next Pixel device. That's always a very generic image, but what it seems to show is exactly what this headline indicates: an under-display camera. Of course, currently Google has gone with some older methods. Of course, they use the hole punch selfie camera, but in devices like the Pixel Fold, they've actually opted to put the selfie camera up in the bezel on the top right of the screen, which does, of course, mean you have a relatively large bezel, but it also means you have a truly fully uninterrupted screen. Now, apparently Google's approach might be a little bit different. As this article says here, the company has seemingly come up with a way that would allow enough light to get to that under-display camera while keeping it hidden. Of course, that's the goal of every under-display camera the company seemingly plans to use, as they go on to say here. Two parts of the display to block or distort the light as it passes through the screen. Google claims this can be done by placing a layer of light-blocking material with different shapes and patterns between the display and the camera. I'm not going to pretend to understand exactly what all that means or how this sort of implementation would differ from things like what Samsung does. I believe TCL, does TCL have an under-display camera? There's another smaller company that has done this as well. I don't know how this is going to differ from those. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume it's not going to differ significantly. Just to give my personal opinions on this, though, it's probably not something I'm going to want at all. And there's two big reasons why I am really not a fan of under-display cameras. One, the most obvious one, is that the camera quality on them is absolutely terrible. If you ask me, would I rather have an under-display camera or have a camera be up here in this bezel, I'm going to take this 10 out of 10 times because this takes pictures that are usable. This takes videos that are usable. Under-display cameras look absolutely awful. They are effectively unusable to me. And then people say, oh, they're for video calls and so forth. Like, I guess, but I spend a lot of money on these devices and I want my video calls to not look like they were filmed through a potato. So I don't want them. They are really, really, really bad quality cameras. And it's like, well, but you're sacrificing the quality to have them not be as visible. But that's problem number two. They aren't less visible to me. They're actually more visible a lot of the time because unlike a hole punch or something in your bezel that you really don't see, with these under-display cameras, they have this weird lattice screen door effect. And on any kind of lighter colored display, for me, they shimmer and they're very, very distracting. And for me, again, this is specific to me, I'm photophobic. That kind of shimmering thing up in the periphery of my vision gives me headaches very, very quickly, makes me nauseated. I literally cannot use them. When I'm using my Z Fold devices, I have to use the Good Luck module to fill them with black. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to use the device. So until those two problems are fixed, and I don't know how they would be, because if you don't have the screen door effect because you're reducing the number of pixels, the pixel density, so that the camera can see through the screen, then the camera can't see through the screen. So the quality is going to be even worse. So if you reduce the pixel density to improve the camera quality, then you're getting more of that screen door shimmering effects. I just don't know how this tech makes any sense. And personally, I think it's a solution looking for a problem. I did something a moment ago when I was showing you this Pixel Fold. I was holding it in such a way that I could actually use it like this because my thumb is touching the bezel. I'm not touching the screen. And I actually hold this device like this sometimes. I would not be able to do this with a Z Fold or something with no bezels and still use it because I'm holding onto it with the bezel. Bezels are functional. So again, to me, this chase towards no bezels so we can have an under display camera. These are two things I don't think are worth chasing because bezels are functional and under display cameras are bad. And I get other people are going to have different opinions. I'm being slightly facetious with the way that I'm saying these things, but I do believe these things to be true, at least in my own subjective experience. Obviously, you may have a different experience and a different opinion. When I see news like this, headlines like this, that Google is planning on shipping under display cameras, my first thought is, please don't do that. And then my next thought is, really, please don't do that here. Just leave it alone. I'm fine with the way you've got things set up now. I do not want this in this device. And if you do put it in there, please, oh please give me a way to disable it like Samsung does, because if you don't, I might honestly not even be able to use your phone, which is really, really disappointing. Guys, let me know what you think of all this in the comments down below. I'll drop this article down below as well, so you can go give it a click and give them a hit for their reporting, pulling up this patent. Very, very good stuff, guys. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.